We'll call the Thursday, August 25th, 2022 City of Hayes Commission meeting to order. All commissioners are present. First item on the order of business is the consideration of approval of the minutes from the regular meeting held on August 11th, 2022. Changes, comments, or concerns? Okay, then they will stand as presented. Now we'll have the financial statement for the month of July 2022.
Thank you. This is a summary of revenue and expenditure activities for the City of Hayes, month ended July 31, 2022. Revenues in July totaled $3,751,570. That's a decrease of $2 million compared to the same period of last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue. Miscellaneous revenue for parks improvement rose $23,000 due to donations received from upgrades to ARC, Larks, and Iki parks. Revenues for special highway increased due to additional ARPA funds received in the amount of $111,000. Residential water consumption was up 9%, while business was flat for July. Conservation tier was up 10%. That translates into total revenue of $26,600. Year-to-date, total July consumption and revenue are flat. And one decreased revenue, the most significant revenue decrease to report for the month is timing of ARPA funds of $1,573,501 that was received a year ago at this time as opposed to June this year. It's the exact same amount, just different timing. Expenditures in July totaled $4,241,152, which is an increase of $434,000. Notable areas of increased expenditures. The bulk of the increase in expenditures mentioned above was for the early bond redemption of the 2004A approved out of commission capital reserves for the $407,709. Fleet maintenance was up $35,000 when compared to a year ago. Purchase of breathing apparatus or SCABA equipment for the fire department increased new equipment reserve expenditures $262,000. Manhole rehab increased water reclamation $144,500. And water reserve projects were up $191,700 due to water line improvements. Some decrease in expenditures. Land acquisition at this time last year dropped airport improvement expenditures $155,000. Capital projects were off $153,000 as a result of the 230th, 55th, and 27th Street reconstructions a year ago. I don't know who writes this stuff. Maybe I should read it after I read it. Bigel-Schmidt Sports Complex, other contractual services fell $79,905 due to the purchase of scoreboards last year. Water reclamation reserve projects were down $269,000 for sanitary sewer cleaning going on at this time last year. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $747,000. That's an increase of $41,557 or 6% as compared to last year. Year-to-date, general fund sales tax is at $5,274,451. That's up $512,826, or almost 11% from a year ago. The 6-month average is at 10%, and that's a drop of 0.8% when compared to a year ago. Month to date, county sales tax collections were at $91,439, up 10.7 as compared to last year. Year to date, county sales tax is at $641,849. The report of the top 10 quarter-to-date sales tax collections by classification was up $40,600 or 1.7%. Those top 10 represent 75% of the total sales tax collections for the running quarter. The portfolio certificates of deposit on July 31, 2022 totaled $3 million. We have one left. Weighted average interest rate of 6 basis points or up 1 basis point from a year ago. Total par value of U.S. Treasuries is $62,480,000 with a weighted average yield to maturity of 80 basis points, up 74 basis points from a year ago. Total balance of the money market account on July 31 was $3.5 million with a current yield of 5 basis points. Total investments are up $9,324,913. And also, we did change the look of the investment report. Hopefully, that made it a little easier. It was time for a revamp there, especially with all the U.S. Treasuries that we're doing lately.
Thank you. Make a motion we approve the July financial report. Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bushel, second by Commissioner Burgess. Any questions or comments for Kim?
I like the new report. That's what I was reading.
All right, looks good. We have any No other comments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Kim. Citizen comments. So quiet in here. Next item on the order of business is the consent agenda. Item number 1, or A, would be the cereal malt beverage license application for the Volga German Oktoberfest. And then item B is mayoral appointment recommendations for the Hayes Area Board of Zoning Appeals and Hayes Area Planning Commission. I spoke to these gentlemen, and majority of them are all continuations of people who are currently serving and are very excited to continue serving. So I appreciated all of their interests and being on a super fun board as the zoning is. So I'm just looking for your
Move approval of consent agenda.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Burgess. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Passes 5-0. All right.
Wonder what would happen if we didn't approve the Oktoberfest. Sorry.
Hopefully they don't have our address.
They'd find it.
New business, Midwest Energy electric gas franchise.
Toby Doherty, City Manager. I am here tonight to present the ordinance that would adopt the Midwest Energy electric and gas franchise. The current ordinance was adopted in 2003, and it expires in January of 23. So city staff and Midwest Energy staff, mostly Bob Muirhead, who's in the audience here, met several times over the summer and negotiated a new franchise. We are happy with the franchise agreement. I believe Midwest Energy is happy with the franchise agreement that's presented to you. And we've been very happy with Midwest Energy's performance as the electric and gas utility in Hayes. So the ordinance you have in front of you would be 20 years effective upon adoption. It provides a 5% payment as a franchise fee on sales of electricity and gas, 3 cents per therm on transported gas. That is gas that's purchased by a customer and used Midwest Energy's lines to transport through. City has first right to purchase either systems or right-of-way that Midwest Energy disposes of. Midwest needs to follow all of the city's UDC regulations. We have no problem with that now. And Midwest will continue to provide street lighting service. We pay for the electricity, but Midwest Energy actually provides the lights and maintains the lights. The proposed agreement would go through August of 2042 if it is approved. So the commission has the following options, and this is the option recommended.
I move we approve ordinance number 4016, granting an electrical and gas franchise to Midwest Energy.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Musil. Any questions or comments for Toby or Bob?
I'll just make the same comment. Last week, my question about the fiscal note of this relationship, and 290,000, is that the number we were looking at?
That's what we added to the 23 budget.
23, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Midwest Energy, for working with us. It's a good relationship. I'm excited to keep moving forward. All right, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you. And now progress.
Colin
Not
Belzer
Colin.
is not here, so you're stuck with me for the progress report. Work was performed on the Big Creek Dam near the walking bridge. There was some erosion issues around the west side, so Public Works staff went in and put some concrete in. This is another view you can see in the photo on the right of the completed product. And Public Works staff actually found some old photos of the area. This actually shows the construction of the walking bridge. It was there before the current bridge, and then it also shows the original construction of the dam. There's been a couple iterations of that dam. You may see in older pictures, and then Public Works staff, I believe in maybe 2013, rebuilt the dam to its current configuration, but it was that one they rebuilt off of. Public Works is also upgrading the pavement markings. This time of year, they focus on schools and crosswalks, parking areas around schools. They'll keep going through town as the fall progresses. So if you see pavement markings are a little rowdy, they are going to get to it. Along with the just unique nature of things that are short because of COVID, Street paint is one of them. We're having a hard time getting enough street paint. Why, we don't know, but they're getting enough to do some of the critical areas around the schools, and that's what we're focusing on first. Service Division also rebuilt the railroad crossing at Commerce Parkway in Old 40. And if you were before they built it, that was getting very rough, so they did a good job. It's in good shape now. They rebuilt the alley return at 7th and Main. This is the alley if you're coming out of the post office onto Main Street. Also very rough, very heavily trafficked area, so they were in and out very quickly. They're doing a lot of curb and gutter repairs around the city. The heat this summer has caused a lot of popping in concrete, so this scene is not uncommon to see either sidewalks or street panels heaved and curbs popped. So in this case, we wouldn't make the adjacent property owner take care of the sidewalk. We would do it because it's a heat-related issue that affected the street as well.
Toby, is it all concrete, or is it where there is brick inlay like that?
No, it's all concrete.
Oh, everything, okay.
Yeah, in concrete does two things. It cracks, and then it'll expand with heat. So when you get long, prolonged heat temp exposures like that, it will expand to the point where it's got to give somewhere. So Service Division is also doing a lot of curb cuts and driveway entrances, just going back and rebuilding some areas around that. Service Division is addressing some storm basin sidewalk issues. So in this case, there is a stormwater inlet basin there that has a concrete cap over it, and the sidewalk around it is settled, so they went in and rebuilt it. It's not uncommon to see that around. We're trying to get ahead. This is difficult to pass for a pedestrian, let alone somebody who's special needs. The Stormwater and Water Conservation operated a small booth at the annual dog swim. The staff raffled off 2 prize packs and distributed bags with informational material on educating people properly on collecting and disposing of pet waste. An estimated 400 people attended and 200 dogs. Firefighter Trevor Sherman completed the Fire Officer Leadership Program. This means that he is now certified in Fire Instructor 1 and Fire Officer 1 and 2, as well as Fire Inspector 1, which are the requirements needed to become a senior firefighter with the City of Hayes. Parks Department installed a new sidewalk to the restroom at Seven Hills that was recently set. They will be doing landscaping and grass this spring, and then this fall and the next spring. Park staff refurbished a 35-foot bridge. I believe that was taken from the golf course, if I remember right, when a bridge was upgraded there. It's been out of service for several years, so they refurbished it and they installed it at the disc golf course. This would be immediately east of the West Frontier Park parking lot.
That's very cool.
There's 2 different hole crossings there on a disc golf course, and it's very heavily trafficked. And they did a very good job with it. Here's another view of the area. Park staff removed and replaced a large section of damaged concrete, originally installed in the 90s. This is the park shop. And then on the right, they replaced a failed section of asphalt in the municipal park parking lot. Evidently, when that parking lot was created, there was a very large cottonwood tree that was removed. And then over the years, the ground settled where the tree was at, so the asphalt sank, and they had to go put a concrete repair in. Park staff replaced a wooden bench with a bench that was recently donated. This is in Rolling Hills Park. The aquatic park received a seal coat as part of the street maintenance program this year, and once the seal coat had dried, the park staff went in and repainted all of the parking stalls. Midwest Energy requested to cut the power to the Law Enforcement Center for 90 minutes on August 2nd to replace the building transformer. So an outage like this not only affects law enforcement within the building, but more importantly, the 911 communication center. So extensive preparations on timing with Midwest Energy, city staff, and county IT was needed to ensure that the critical systems and the backup batteries are going to perform as needed, and they did. The project was successful. The batteries, generators all kicked in, and so we were able to provide seamless communication services. Worked out pretty well. Hayes Police Department hosted the 5th annual community night out at the aquatic park. Officer Brevin Labarge graduated from the 297th Kansas Law Enforcement Center Academy. And here you see Water Conservation Specialist Holly Dickman, who was at Story Hour at the Hayes Public Library. Her and the Water Ambassadors, which you guys have been introduced to, they were leading the Story Hour. This is some pictures of the ambassadors at work. Water Resources, R.A. Pedrati has been on site installing, programming the new hardware and control panels for the water plant SCADA upgrade project. And the city staff, as well as representatives from Burns and McDonnell, did the biannual water sampling at the R9 Ranch. There are, I believe, 26 observation wells down there, and the Burns and Mac staff and city staff pull water samples from each one and then measure water levels to determine water quality and then how the aquifer is performing in the area.
Anything remarkable in that?
No, it's been dry, so the aquifer's a little low. When it rains more, the aquifer goes up. When it's dry, it goes down. We have seen some improvements in the quality of water since we quit farming. The nitrates are going down, and that's pretty much typical if you're not putting the fertilizers down like you would if you're farming. Water Resources maintenance crew replaced a fire hydrant at Canal and Hall Street. And they also repaired a water leak on the Smoky Hill transmission line. This is down by Chatola Gold Road. It was a 12-inch line that had a break in it. On July 26th, elected officials and department heads from the city and the county participated in the Community Cruise Fort Hays State Edition. This is organized by the CVB, Hayes Chamber, and Grow Hayes, as well as the Fort Hays State University Foundation staff. Attendees were toured through the newest buildings on campus, the Center for Applied Technology, Center for Art and Design, and the Fishley Willis Center for Student Success. And then the event wrapped up with a lunch sponsored by the Fort Hays State Alumni Association at the Robbins Center with presentations by CVB, Chamber, and Grow Hayes. August 3rd, Janet Kuhn and members of the Northwest Kansas Travel Council promoted Northwest Kansas at the Kansas Tourism Media event at the Eisenhower Presidential Library. August 15th, Melissa Dixon welcomed a group of 50 international students with the Hayes Welcome Bags and a lunch sponsored by the Hayes Sister Cities. She also welcomed 60 new faculty and staff at their luncheon the same day. And CVB sponsored a meal for 500 students at the back-to-school picnic at Fort Hays State on August 22nd. Staff also provided 500 welcome packets to the students and collected email addresses for future communication. T&T Builders completed the reconstruction of the 400 block of East 22nd Street between Allen and Vine. T&T Builders then moved to install the sidewalk along the north side of Mopar Drive, just west of Applebee's. PCI Roads completed replacing the bridge deck in 17th and Harvest on August 11th. The first half was done in a checkerboard pattern. I had a lot of people ask me why a checkerboard pattern. This is to maintain the structural integrity of the bridge. If you were to take it all out, you could compromise the structure of the bridge, even though there is a substructure. The contractor returned later this fall to do a thin polymer overlay on the bridge deck. We're very happy with their work. J-Corps completed curb and brick repairs on 7th Street and 4th Street, and they are currently working on the intersection of 10th and Ash, and after that they're going to move to the 300 block of West 16th. And that was all I had, and I will turn it over to Melissa.
Thank you. Melissa?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Melissa Dixon from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. I just have a few things I want to be sure are on your radar for the month of September. And interesting, all but one are outdoors. So, but I will welcome rain even though. First two Fort Hays State football games will be September 8th and 24th at 7 p.m. against Missouri Western and Missouri Southern. The annual Walk to End Alzheimer's will be September 10th, and that'll be on Fort Hays State's campus. The 38th Annual Frontier Open Disc Golf Tournament will be September 10th through 11th out at Frontier Park. And then 2 race weekends out at the Speedway. First is September 17th, and then the second weekend will be Fall Nationals. So that's one of the largest crowds they'll have out there, and it'll actually go September 29th to October 1st. Thunder on the Plains Car, Truck, and Cycle Show. They were down at the park. They've moved out to Nations Auction Elite Realty north of town. So that'll be September 17th during the day, and the night before they'll have their regular cruise night around town. So watch out for them. And this is our only indoor event that I brought to you tonight. Hayes Public Library Foundation Wine and Cheese Fundraiser. That's always a fun time for a good cause. Also on that busy weekend, September 17th in the evening. At the library, tickets are $30, and the guest speaker is Marcy Penner of the Kansas Sampler Foundation. She's an amazing lady. Go Truck Go will be September 22nd. And we are helping assemble some pretty fantastic swag bags for the families that come out to that with children's books and all kinds of great things. They will have free food and drink, and that's in the area where early childhood connections and Cross Point Church is. TMP's Homecoming will be September 23rd weekend with the Bonfire Thursday night, Parade Friday, Game Friday night. The Rockalua Music Festival, I believe this is their 8th annual. This is at Municipal Park, and it is totally free. And then Wines and Steins is coming back around. It's had a few changes over the years, evolved into a few different things. It's going back to its original model. September 30th, 6 to 11 p.m. Tickets are $65. They will have music, food, and they'll end with an auction in the pavilion. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you for the opportunity.
Lots of fun stuff.
Thanks, Melissa.
All right. Next up, I was wondering if Toby could give us an update on the R9 Ranch.
Certainly. The City Commission may recall that the judge in Edwards County ruled in the city and state's favor at the end of June regarding the, validity, for lack of a better word, of the master order. So what that means is the master order is now deemed complete. The master order governs all of the conversion of water rights from irrigation to municipal. Once the master order is complete, we can start the transfer process, because the transfer process is contingent upon an approved master order. So we have been working with the state of Kansas to begin that process. Our attorneys and engineers have been working very hard on preparing for that process. Because that is a judicial ruling, there is the opportunity to appeal. And we found out on Wednesday that the opponents did appeal the ruling. The ruling is the ruling. They're going to have to convince an appellate court that the ruling is not correct. So we are focusing most of our time on the transfer process. We're hoping the state starts the process very quickly, and we are doing our best to make sure that we're ready to prove all of the benefits to the state of Kansas that are spelled out in the transfer statutes. Regarding the appeal, we've seen the docketing statement that was filed on Wednesday. And aside from some procedural challenges that the opponents make, they don't feel like the chief engineer and or the state followed the processes the way they think they should be followed. That's not what the state thinks, and that's not what Judge Gatterman thought. They made the determination that the processes were followed. So there's a few arguments in the process that's been rehashed. One of the main issues that the opponents are focusing on is the consumptive use portion of the master order. And in order to fully explain, I need to deviate a little bit on consumptive use and what it means. So if you have a water right in Kansas put to a beneficial use, there are two types of use, consumptive use and a non-consumptive use. A consumptive use means the water gets consumed. The non-consumptive use means some portion of it gets returned. So the largest water right in Kansas is the Bowersock Dam in Lawrence, the little power plant right there when you cross the river coming into downtown. It doesn't consume anything because it just uses the water that goes through it. We have consumptive use water rights on the Smoky Hill, meaning we can consume those fully. That's how we can use that water to irrigate golf course and ball fields and things like that. We do not have consumptive use on the Big Creek wells. So whatever we don't consume as part of our city has to be put back into Big Creek after we treat it. So irrigation water rights are treated like that. When you have an irrigation water right, some of that gets used by the plant, some of it evaporates, and some of it goes into the ground and gets returned to the aquifer. So when you convert an irrigation water right to a, say in this case, a municipal water right, which is going to be a consumptive use, you don't get the gallon per gallon conversion because that could potentially harm the aquifer, could potentially harm neighboring water rights. So there's a consumptive use process. It's very formulaic. It's been in place for a lot of years. It's widely followed and really hasn't been challenged as far as validity. The consumptive use calculations are put in there to make sure that after the conversion to a new use, in this case municipal use, you are consuming no more water than was consumed when it was being irrigated. Consumptive use is put in to protect the adjacent water rights. During the process, we agreed to go above and beyond consumptive use. We agreed to further limit our water rights by 30% in order to move towards sustainable use. Not consumptive use, sustainable use. These are outside the regulations, they're above the regulations. And we argued with the state quite a bit before we agreed to do it, but we did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. The opponents appear to be non-supportive of the current consumptive use regulations. And further, they appear to be non-supportive of our willingness to go 30% beyond the consumptive use regulations. They are throwing methodology and suggestions out that, quite frankly, are troubling and should be troubling to anybody that owns a water right or anybody that wants to consume a water right. They are trying to get the state to take into account what grass may consume after the irrigation has gone away. Almost to an absurd point. If you follow their logic to its conclusion, their conclusion is grass uses so much water. If that was the case, we wouldn't need the irrigation water to grow corn and soybeans down there because grass uses so much water. They're trying to claim that post-conversion to native grass, we're using almost the same amount of water as when we were irrigating crops with it. It's an absurd statement because, again, if it were true, then nobody would need to irrigate down there, and you could just grow dry land corn and soybeans and get 250 bushel corn. So it's illogical. We think it's absurd, but more importantly, it's dangerous because we're dealing with regulations. Okay, regulations are set by the state of Kansas. Regulations in this case are set by the Division of Water Resources. But this is a judicial proceeding, and this is potentially an appellate proceeding. Now, Don has 3 more years of law school than I do, but I do know that once you get into appellate court, you can create case law off of that. So in this case law could possibly supersede regulation if it is case law. I don't think anybody in the ag industry, I don't think anybody that owns the water rights wants what our opponents are advocating becoming case law. And I'll give you a good example of why. Again, consumptive use regulations are put in place to make sure that the new water right doesn't consume any more water than the previous water right. There is no law in Kansas that requires a water right to be used absolutely sustainably. Think Ogallala. We are mining water from the Ogallala. Okay, there's consumptive use that happens all the time in the Ogallala. The regulations make sure that the new use does not use any more than the previous use, which is typically irrigation because that's what 85% of the water rights in Kansas are used for. If the tactics they are trying to employ just to stop Hayes and Russell are successful, then there could be no conversion of water rights in the Ogallala, because there is almost no recharge in the Ogallala. So if you are a dairy, a feedlot, an industry such as Sunflower Energy who bought water rights to use in their power plant, that wouldn't happen because there would be this ultimate sustainability test. More importantly, right now there's a new cheese processing facility going in Dodge City. And from what I've been told, it's going to take 12 new dairies to supply milk to this cheese processing facility. These dairies are going to be some in the Ogallala. We've heard some may be in Edwards County, but they're all going to take consumptive use. You cannot water cattle with irrigation water. You have to convert that water to stock watering. It doesn't matter if it's a feedlot or a dairy. So if the new standard is absolute adherence to sustainability using their tactic, it's going to be hard to see any of those dairies in the Ogallala happening. And east of the Ogallala, you're going to throw the existing regulations out the window, and it's going to be very hard to get enough water to convert. So I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know why they're doing this. In my opinion, I don't think the ag economy or the ag industrial economy should be very happy about what they're doing. But I don't think they're going to be successful in their appeal. I'm not too worried about it. So right now we're focusing on the transfer process, and we're focusing on making the best case we can during the transfer process, and then we can get the project started. And I've mentioned this to you before. I would like to have a design contract in front of the commission later this year for approval, so we can get the design started and hope that we can have the design completed and ready to bid as we finish the transfer process. So that's the high level update. When I get more, I will let you guys know.
I think it's really important that people understand what you said tonight, Toby, and that is we got a ruling. Judge Gatorman gave us a ruling. Unless something, I appreciate that we're moving forward and moving forward aggressively. When you look at the dollars of change of cost of this project from when we started to when the delays started to where we are now, every single 6-month period is going to make a huge difference. So you and council and everybody else that made the decision, let's just get in and get started and get ahead of the ball game, because if anybody that looks at this and everything you've told us, I can't imagine they're going to be successful. That way it'll put us that much farther down the road, and I appreciate that process.
I would like to add one thing. Aside from their position being a little bit logical and unreasonable, it's also a hypocritical stance. So the group that's trying to stop this is the Water Protection Association of Central Kansas. It's an irrigator advocacy group in South Central Kansas. They are right in the heart of the Quivira Wildlife Refuge water right impairment claim. So there are a lot of junior irrigation water rights upstream in the Rattlesnake Creek area that are impairing a senior water right that the Quivira Wildlife Refuge, the federal government, owns. And when you look at this organization's tactics in that matter, they refuse to cut their pumping 1 iota, even though it's proven that there is an impairment caused by overpumping of junior irrigators. So not only do they refuse to change their behavior, they advocate for tactics that really don't address the problem. But if they apply their measures to, if they apply their standards to, they're trying to apply to us, wouldn't be as beneficial as they try to claim they're going to be. Wow. They want to create an augmentation well field. They want to try to remove some end guns. But again, if they want to try to install their measures on themselves, none of that would be successful. So it's kind of a double hypocritical stance. Yeah. Meanwhile, we are in an area where there is no impairment. There's no claim of impairment. And they're worried about the potential of a future impairment when we've gone above and beyond what's required by law. So we wish they would focus on areas in their backyard and not focus on us.
You know, Toby, 7 years ago when we kind of started moving forward with this, we said we're going to play by the rules, we're going to help our region, and I'm glad we continue to do that. But, I want our, community and our region to know we're going to get this water. It's going to happen. It's going to cost us money, but we're going to grow our region because that's what we need, and that's why we're doing this. And we're always going to use less water than what we did when we had the irrigation wells. We had 23 pivots, right? 26.
26 pivots.
26 pivots. So, it's such ridiculous, and we're trying to help our region. We're not hurting them. We're actually trying to help our region grow, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Absolutely. We are we are a state, if not a national standard for water conservation. Everything we've done for the last 30 odd years has been nothing short of amazing when it comes to water conservation. I think California is finally learning from what we've done forever. It's frustrating that they continue this fight, and it seems like grasping at straws. But like Sean said, we're going to be moving forward. This is coming. I mean, R9 it's going to happen, and I'm excited to see it go through. I mean, we waited 18 months to get that ruling from Judge Getterman, so I think he took his time and did some research on it. 18 months is a long time. We're getting a little impatient, but we're happy we got the ruling we did. Obviously, we agree with it. They might not, but that's up to them to take it up in appellate court. But we're going to be moving forward. Hayes and Russell and the region are going to get their water here in the next few years. That's my hope. Anything else for Toby on R9?
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
All right. Commission inquiries and comments. Commissioner Barrett.
Yeah, a couple of things. I suppose I'm still astonished every time I get a chance to see not just how efficient the departments of the city of Hayes are in getting things accomplished, but how involved they are in the city with different programs and activities, which I think is really important. But it's not, you don't see every city that goes as far as Hayes does in being interactive with the city. I also wanted to put a little shout out to a couple of people on the staff at the Sternberg, Dr. Laura Wilson, David Levering, and Dr. Allie Baumgartner. They got on regional NPR with talking about Western Kansas when it was a seaway, and it was called Hell's Aquarium. And what's interesting about it is it got picked up by national NPR with Steve Inskeep, and I had calls from my colleagues that work in the federal government in D.C. to ones that work in California at teaching at universities, and they called me and said, "Hey, Sternberg was on
so cool.
NPR,"
so
and so we got national coverage with a very cool story, and so I thought that was very kind of a cool thing for Hayes.
Very cool.
To get that kind of national recognition.
Congratulations to
Very,
your
very
staff.
cool.
That's cool.
Wonderful. Commissioner Jacobs.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Musel.
I wanted to mention to you about Sternberg. I had some customers from London. They were here celebrating, I think, Hutchison's 150th anniversary, and they spent the day here in Hayes, and they thought your museum was fabulous. So thank you to you and your staff. That's all I got.
Commissioner Burgess.
No, I don't have anything.
Nothing. Saving it for January.
They go on one massive rant.
Only thing I had was I was talking to some people this week, and they kept saying how wonderful our staff is at getting things fixed and fixed correctly. So thank you and staff for taking care of things, anything from a popped sidewalk to just the general construction going on in town. I mean, there's a lot of it happening. Progress takes time and looks nasty, but when it's done, oh man, it's good. So things are happening. It's great. School's back in session. So it's good. We got a lot of fun things coming up. And thank you and staff too for, like Reese said, all the employees going above and beyond their actual day-to-day service to being a part of the community with all the events that they do. And you see them everywhere. I think every single event I go to, I'm like, hey, there's some more staff. There's some more staff. They're all over the place. They're very involved, and it's good to see. We have a great community. So thank you. Any executive sessions? No. Then we will adjourn at 7:09.
Don't